The socials together.
Get the socials going.
I know.
Dang. Where y'all from? You're from Pasadena? No, the area. San Gabriel, that's right. Where y'all from? Palos Verdes. That's a drive. Thank you for being here. That's a beautiful drive, though. Welcome, everybody, to Sigma. My name is Jorge, and I have the privilege of being your host today. So welcome, and it's a busy day in LA, if you know. So those of you that made the time to be here, thank you for joining us for this very special event. So to kickstart this event, I want to do so with the spirit of our team in Japan in mind. This is a 5-year celebration of the FP camera. So I'm going to share a few quotes from Sigma CEO Kazuto Yamaki. Okay, so on the topic of innovation and design philosophy, to quote, our goal was to redefine what a digital camera could be. The Sigma FP embodies the idea of a new generation camera, a small, flexible tool that photographers and videographers can easily adapt to their creative styles and workflows. On the topic of philosophy of minimalism and functionality, to quote, the FP is a minimalist camera, no unnecessary elements, only essential features that allow creatives to focus on their work without distraction. It's an invitation to engage more fully in the creative process. And lastly, on his vision for the future of camera technology, to quote Kazuto-san, he says, as technology evolves, the lines between photography and video are becoming less defined. The FP was designed with this convergence in mind, providing both photographers and filmmakers with a powerful modular tool that adapts to the user, not the other way around. Okay, so that was the thought behind the FP. And for those of you that don't know what FP stands for, or show of hands, does anyone know what the FP stands for? Any hands? Kays knows. Ashley, you know. I will share it with the audience. So FP stands for Fortissimo Pianissimo. It's an Italian term, so those of you that are in music, Kays is in music, so Kays knows. It's an Italian term that means bold yet soft, right? So this camera was designed to be a powerhouse, but inobtrusive. Bold in design with all the features, you know, to create and just not really have it, you know, be on your face, again, with the design and the creator in mind. Okay, so those are quotes. Now you know what FP stands for. The L in FPL means L-mount. The L-mount Alliance. Okay, so to kick this event off, I'd like to thank the Sigma team that is making this event possible, starting with the mastermind behind this, the architect of FP Day, Aubrey Duclos. Give it up for Aubrey Duclos. Okay? So Aubrey envisioned what this event could be, then she entrusted us to bring it to life. And that is the Burbank team, starting with Jeannie Jane to my left. Jeannie Jane. Ashley Beck, right? We worked to give it up for Ashley. There we go, Ashley. Worked tirelessly to put all this together. And we have special visitors too from Sigma, New York. I'm going to start to my left. If you love what we're doing on social media, give it up for Nicole Bott. Nicole, everyone, from New York, okay? If you love the lanyards, the pins, the sweaters, and all the cool Sigma swag, give it up for Mike D over there. Mike from New York. The person that makes sure that we're always in tune with all things Sigma, the head of our HR and accounting team, Ms. Jackie Bargett. Give it up for Jackie from New York. And then we've got our Sigma gurus, our tech gurus. These are the people that Sigma team members go to when we get into a jam or we need technical expertise, led by Aaron Norberg, the head of our tech team, and Nick Benson, a tech rep. We've got tech reps throughout the U.S. These are the teams. So if you have any questions, hit them up. So, and I also want to thank our brand, what I call industry partners. You know, these are the industry partners who have products that help build an ecosystem for content creators like you. So I want to start by giving a round of applause to Bright Tangerine, who develops professional grade camera accessories. Yes, give it up for Bright Tangerine. Check them out. Our friends at Lexar, who are a global media workflow leader. All things workflow and media, give it up for Lexar. Thank you, Lexar, for being here. And you'll see some of their products on our cameras. And we've got lighting this beautiful set, showing off some of the greatest products in LED and soft lighting. Nanlux, give it up for Nanlux. Thank you for being here. Showing off the technology for video accessibility is Atomos with camera to cloud. Check out Atomos in the corner. They'll blow you away with what you could do, camera to cloud. And we're also thrilled to introduce you to our live stream partners in the back table. If you have any interest in how to shoot live stream, we've got our friends from Black Magic Design. Give it up for Black Magic. Thank you so much. So you're going to listen to wonderful speakers from different backgrounds, and the purpose of this event is to get you to know what the FP is and hopefully inspire you to create content. And you're gonna listen to different speakers that are using it in different ways. I've been inspired by a few of them, and I hope that you are too. So without further ado, I'd like to invite you or introduce you to our first speaker. So Heather Larkin, it is my pleasure to introduce to you. She delivers the power of magic and storytelling through the lens of a camera. So with over 25 years of experience, Heather is a creative force behind Fairyography, which is an enchanting photography experience that transforms everyday moments into magical moments. Heather is also a Sigma ambassador, where she shares her expertise in macro photography. And today, Heather is going to talk about how she uses the FP camera to create beautiful macro imagery. And for those of you that have signed up to participate in a workshop after this presentation, she will then head over to our workshop area to show you how to do macro photography using FP. And for those of you that didn't sign up, there are a few spots left. So if you are interested in participating, please see Ashley Beck. Ashley, raise your hand after the presentation, and she will let you know how to do that. So without further ado, let's welcome Heather Larkin, everyone.
I do the thing. Ray, everybody can see that, right? Okay. So I am, like he said, my name's Heather Larkin, and I am a Sigma ambassador. And how many of you are Cine people versus photos only people? Cine, raise your hand. That's like half the room. Woo! Now, photo only people, raise your hands. And I'm going to keep my hand up because I stink at Cine. Now, why am I up here giving you a presentation? Oh, the people that do both, raise your hands if you do both. Actually, that's the vast majority. I should have asked that first. So I am terrible, absolutely terrible at video. Like, I struggle to think in 3 dimensions. So why am I up here giving a presentation on a Cine camera for stills? Because we're going to talk about how creatively you can use this camera to do things that you may not have thought about before. So if you do mostly video, then you are in for a little bit of a broadening here. Okay, so for me, I use the FPL. I don't use the FP because I bought the FPL late. So I use the FPL, and I use it for artistic flower photos. And the things that I love the absolute most are these. First up, I have no noise in my final images. I often shoot with another brand, and I have to run those through like Topaz or Lightroom denoise. The FPL images, I do not. The other main point that I love the most is that the FPL is a very simple experience. You heard Jorge talking, and it was designed to be unobtrusive and designed to grow with you, not grow for you, if that makes any sense. The color straight out of the camera is amazing, and it is very, very tiny and light, so I can put it anywhere. My other macro setup is it has a large flash and a big light on top of it. The FPL is small. There's no viewfinder unless you attach one. All of it is in this tiny little screen, and I would say that this is life size, but it's life size on my screen, not this one. Okay, so why the FPL? For me, I want a simple experience, and that starts with the camera as well as your creative thinking. So sitting for 10 minutes with one subject is really common artist practice. It allows your brain to get a little bored, and you start looking for other subject matter or interesting compositions. If you're sitting with one flower, well, yeah, you've got the whole flower as a whole, but you've also got pieces of the flower. Well, if you get bored enough and you start looking at that flower long enough, you will start trying to figure out what lenses can I use to tell the story that I want that doesn't affect or that doesn't have the same look. Does that make sense? All right. So this also applies to a more simple camera setup with fewer buttons. If I have fewer options and fewer things to mash, that's less things that I can actually screw up. And that's more things that my brain needs to think about. So I really love working with this camera. This artist's exercise that I was just talking about, this is the same flower taken 4 different ways. This is the FPL camera. And each of these it tells a different story. So for the top left, you're looking at the flower whole as a center and the ring around it. Here we've got the flower by itself, and that tells one story. Then on here at the bottom left, you've got the angle, and then this one you've got the macro and how different that is. Now, who here can guess, are these all the same lens? Are these all different lenses? If you think same lens, raise your hand. Okay, if you think different lenses, raise your hand. They are different lenses. This is a macro lens here, and you can only get this with a macro lens. And then this one is a 50. This one's a 50. This one over here is a close focusing 24. And this one down here is a zoom telephoto. All different lenses, all different looks, same flower. You get bored, but same camera. All right, so the way I photograph flowers is, to me, the most important thing is choosing your depth of field, which can translate to which lens you're going to pick. So the closer you get to your subject, the smaller an area in focus, front to back of your subject, going away from you. Because a macro lens can get really, really close, that depth of field can get really, really tiny. And I'm talking millimeters. Like some of the things that I photograph, you get up on it, and you're talking like what's in focus is the size of a grain of rice or smaller. So adding extension tubes or close-up filters make this area even smaller. A nice little illustration on the depth of field. If you're close, it's skinny. If you're further away, you have more depth of field to play with. Now, how does this translate to lens choice in the story that you want to tell? Macro lenses allow you to get really, really close. So this is 4.5 versus f11. This is a sundew. It is a carnivorous plant. It eats bugs. And I wanted to tell the story of its, like the little dewdrops on it. And I found that I didn't like the 4.5 version. I liked the F11 version. Now, I guarantee about half of you are sitting out there going, no, I like the 4.5 version. It's the magic of art. You get to decide. All right. So same thing here, except for this one, I like the F9 version. It tells more of a story. I like all of this sparkly magic back here. But I guarantee you, some of you sitting out there are going, no, I like the 3.2 version. And that's wonderful. You get to share what you want and what tells the story of what you're trying to tell. All right. Framing and angle is a conscious choice. Now, the reason this is in this presentation for the FPL is because my other macro setup is humongous. And that doesn't mean that I can take it through a framing of trees and flowers without disturbing the trees and flowers. So the FPL, I can get stuff like this. This is a tulip leaf, a little tulip leaf curl, and it was in a bouquet. Well, I could get that with the macro lens without having to tear open or tear up all of the rest of the flowers in there. Different angles tell different stories. And so I picked the lenses and the camera based on what story I would like to tell. Two different lenses. 50 macro. One flower, pieces of flower. Same flower, two different stories. You pick. You pick. Same thing. 50 or macro. And I guarantee some of you are like, oh yeah, I really like this macro. And some of you are like, oh yeah, I really like that 50. It's a very personal preference. Same thing, 50 or macro. Now for this one, I like the macro better because I like seeing all the stuff in there. And again, you get bored and you start picking like different things to look at. And that requires different lenses. So let's take a look at why you would choose a macro lens. Macro lenses allow you to get closer with greater magnification than normal lenses do. This is good for little details, great for getting close to your subject, like super up on it. It's very, very sharp, and it has a really narrow depth of field, which means that all of the smush back there in the background you can do. This is the 105 macro, specifically designed for mirrorless. It's fast, it's sharp, it's what I use all the time. Everybody here knows that what I was doing this morning was going out to photograph jumping spiders. That's my thing. And when the jumping spiders run away from you, you kind of have to have a fast lens. So this is what I use for jumping spiders. All of these are taken with the macro lens. So the 105 macro. All the little dewdrops. These are all different stories than middle prime. So 50 millimeter will tell a completely different story. So we've got here in all of our macro close-up glory to actually we can do flower portraits with it, kind of. Middle prime allows for close focusing, but also super shallow depth of field. So this is a 50 millimeter 1.2. And I think it might actually be my favorite lens to pair with the FPL because there's no noise and all of the color looks amazing, plus the 1.2, plus the close focusing. It's just magical and I love it. The bouquet is just amazing. This soft focal plane has a nice fall off in the background and it has very gentle color grading. So these are all taken with the 50. This is a very different feel and a different story than the macro, but I still love it. Okay. Middle zooms. So the 28 to 105 goes wide, too little, to telephoto rather. Wide to lens and all one lens. It has close focusing also, which is a really important feature for me. It's nice separation. And it is compact and light, which I love. It's a great travel lens. And all of these are taken with the 28 to 105. Now, most of these are taken with the 28 to 105 at 105, not 28. But you can see that I can sneak up on all kinds of bugs without scaring them away. And that's super important if you want to do that. Butterflies especially. Okay. And then extra long zooms. These are perfect for flower portraits. The 150 to 600, amazing separation, stunning bouquet. It's useful for other wildlife if you're sneaking up on like birds and stuff, and it compresses backgrounds. So lizards run away. All of this flower, I want to see all of this flower, but I don't want to see all of like the busyness of the background in it. So I'm going to pick a lens that's long enough to allow that compression. This is shot at 600. I'm like in my front yard, backed up against my house, but it's lovely. All right, so this is just a little illustration of the 105 macro versus the 150 to 600 and what the two different lenses might get you. Now, I've been talking about lenses, but we're here to talk about the FEL and why I would choose those lenses on that camera. And so you'll notice on these, the color, the noise, The noise isn't there at all. The lighting, the gentle fall off. Like, I really love this transition from yellow to almost like a tealy blue back there. And it's gentle and there's no banding and there's no, like, it's not busy. It's not schmutzy. Okay. So I'm just going to run through a couple of other examples. The FPL with the 100 millimeter macro, 2.8 at 2.8, and you can see that these, all of like the color fall off and the magnification, you can't do that with a non-macro lens. Same on the flower. All of this back here is not in focus, but the flower is. Same again. I think my favorite part about this one right here is the swoosh. It goes whoosh, and I can hear it in my head. If you don't do the sound effects, are you even really living life? All right, so this is milkweed. Who knows what milkweed looks like? It's like a fluffy flower, but if you get up close on it, it looks like this, like little stars, like amazing. And then all of the story that I wanted to tell with this one was the center of this flower, but not all of the extraneous stuff that goes into that flower. Same here. I wanted this to stand out. These are forget-me-nots, and I wanted them to stand out against all of the background. Same here. All of the fall off is amazing. And I'm going through these really fast because at some point, you get the point that I'm making. You know, it's like the point that I'm making is the fall off is amazing and the colors are amazing and there's no noise. Now, 51.2. This is blueberries on the bush. I think blueberries can look artistic, and you can tell a story that is artistic with fruit on a shrub with no noise and amazing color. Same with these lilies. I think they're called toad lilies because they've got spots on them, which I think is super cool. But I wanted to have this fan of the foliage and the flowers without all of the dirt behind it. Same here. Now this one, these are elephant ears and they're larger, but I have to be able to get through like the cloud of elephant ears without disturbing this piece of water stuck on there. And so if I had my giant regular setup, I would have to be like crawling through the leaves, and you can forget about it. The FPL, I can hold one-handed and lean in. All right, 150 to 600. Again, the light, the compression, the no noise, the color, it's all there without you having to work for it. It's just such an easy camera to use. It's such a pleasure to use, especially after coming from like the giant heavy setup that I normally use. I take this out in the field and I feel like I've got nothing. I'm just walking around with nothing. It's fabulous. Same thing. All of the fall off, all of the color, and none of the noise. It just makes me sit back right. Okay. All right. You can also get the teleconverter with it. So Sigma makes a teleconverter to go with this, and it fits on the macro. And so you can get even closer, which will get you even less depth of field, which gets really creative sometimes. This is a clover flower. And they have tiny little pieces. And if you get close enough, you just look at the tiny little pieces instead. You get really creative with it. You can see that this one, it's this insect is about the size of a grain of rice. His head is in focus. His legs are not. Because I shot this at 2.8. And with the teleconverter, you're getting up on it really close. And all of the background is just mush. And I really like this because it tells the story of this particular little bug's world. Like it's its own little lookout spot. This is dewdrops. on clover leaves with the teleconverter. You can get right up on it, and with the correct lighting, these look like little pearls. Okay. With extra dew. Thank you so much.
So at this time, if anyone has any questions for Heather, this is the time. Awesome. There you go. So I'll pass this back. And who wants to go out and shoot flower? I mean, it's so inspiring, by the way. Like, I see this and you're creating beautiful artistry, and just seeing what you've been able to create is very inspiring. So thank you for sharing what you have. And we'll open it up to questions. So
where do I shoot most of my? Out in the botanical gardens. I live like 7 minutes from a botanical gardens at my house, and they have like a membership, and so I just buy like a 1-year thing and go out there anytime I want. So it's usually but early in the morning, and for me it's a mental health day. You know, I go and I breathe the green, and I don't think about what's in my bank account, and I don't think about what's on my to-do list, and just go out and enjoy the camera. Anybody else? Questions? Please ask me questions. Oh, what original body did I come from? Well, the original was a Canon Rebel XT in like 25 years ago. The one that I swap out with the FPL is a Sony A7R5 right now. It's lovely, and it's my portrait lens. Like, it's my portrait, not lens, but it's my portrait camera. And I do like it, but it's heavy for macro, and so I really enjoy when I get to use the FPL. A little bit of 50-50, actually. So you can set a whole bunch of color profiles in the camera and have them looking pretty darn good straight out of the gate. But I also punch up the colors because that's what I like. I like a really punchy edit, and it's really important for me to have it looking very vibrant. And so I really pull that a lot in post as well. Am I bringing lighting, or is it all natural light? Most of these are all natural light. I will bring, Nanlite has a 10-inch Pavo tube that I will also bring with me. And with the FPL in one hand and the Pavo tube in the other, I can control all of the light, as long as whatever it is that I'm taking pictures of does not run away. And that's really the difficult part. Did that answer? Yes. My final goal is actually both. I do print, so I have a gallery show up at the Botanical Gardens that I visit right now, and so there's nothing that can compare to seeing your work in print. If you have only digitals, if you've only ever seen your work in digitals, get on like Walgreens or Impix or something and order some so that you can have them in print, because it's a different experience. And I think that's super important. That's a good question. I like that one.
For the screen, and if and when, how does that change your experience while taking your photographs?
So I shoot with the screen only, and I have just hit the age where I need reading glasses. And so what I'm running into is, if I'm out in the field and I've taken if I left my reading glasses at home and I've got the camera, and it's like, so I think that I might purchase the viewfinder attachment to that. Yeah, it's a whole thing. The focus stacking. So yes, I have used cameras with focus stacking. Yes, I do like focus stacking. For me, the FPL is not missing focus stacking because the ones that I have used with focus stacking shoot a picture once every second, and there goes your lizard. It's gone. So it's not really all that useful for me unless I'm doing something in the studio, and I don't miss it. Cropping my shots. I don't crop.
Okay.
So all of what you just saw was cropped in camera. Unless I am chasing around jumping spiders and they ran away before I could get up on top of them, I don't crop. Yeah. Yes. Actually, I can't answer that one because I've never used the FP. I don't know. Actually, no. You know what? Bigger megapixels. Because the FPL is 61 and you can crop if you need to. Yes. I know I missed you. Uh-huh. So as far as I know, and I could be incorrect, and this is a good question for Aaron, actually, because as far as I know, the custom profiles only reflect on the back of the screen, and it does not come in from RAW. And since I process from RAW, I'm pulling those back. Yes, that is correct. I'm pulling those back in post. It just gives me a visual, like mental, here's how it looked in the field, place to start from before I start editing. No, it does not. It does apply to JPEGs. So if you're taking pictures in JPEG, then yes, those color profiles do apply and they come out of the camera looking exactly like you saw on the back of your screen, and it's amazing. If you're shooting RAW, however, that does not apply. You need to pull it back in and post yourself, which I do because I like to get it really punchy. Any other questions? No, actually, I am the 1% of people who autofocuses with it because I wiggle a lot. I'm sure you guys are standing, like I'm standing up here and I'm like wiggling a ton and I'm doing this. I wiggle a lot. And when I'm macro or in a manual focus macro, I get nothing in focus, absolutely nothing. So I do rely heavily on the autofocus. And I get there, and then you can breathe yourself in and out of focus once you get there, but I really rely on the autofocus hard, which is why a fast focusing macro lens is super important to me. It makes a huge difference in how I shoot. Is that it? Yep. All right. We're good. Thank you all. Oh, yeah. I got one last question back here. No, actually, I live in Georgia, so it's the Georgia State Botanical Garden in Athens. Oh my gosh, the Descanso Gardens is actually one of my favorite gardens in the entire world, and some of the shots seen in this presentation were taken there the last time I was out here because it's amazing. So yeah, you guys are super lucky. I love it. Okay, done.
Yes, round of applause for Heather. And you can see some of her work in our gallery as well. So thank you so much. And it's time for the workshop. So, or the workshop starts in a bit, right? At 4 o'clock. So the first workshop will be at 4 o'clock. So we've got a break in between before we move on to the next presenter, which would be Aaron Norberg. So please, if this is a good time to get refreshments, meet with our brand partners, check out some of the gear. We do have FPs at the counter for you to check out. We do have some on pedestals. They are hooked up with some gear, Lexar SL500 SSD drives, which I love. On an FP camera, if you're shooting MOV, you get close to 10 hours of record time. If you're shooting RAW, you get over 3 hours. So love that. Check them out and then visit our brand partners and make yourselves at home. Thank you. 45, 346. It's time to start our next presentation. Can everyone hear me okay? Let's gather around. Good? All right, so let me, I'm gonna do the presentation intro. Oh, this side? Okay. Is this good? Should I stand here? Okay. All right, everyone. So now it is my privilege to introduce to you a talented landscape photographer from the Midwest, studied in the South, but now lives in the Pacific Northwest. Honored to call him a colleague. I mean it. I've called Aaron on a few occasions to help me out with technical questions that come to either lens specs or camera specs. And so Aaron is in charge of our tech reps. He's the head of our tech reps. He's got a team that traveled through the US educating users in how to use Sigma products. So he's here to talk about the FP, tips and tricks, what you can do with it. And so hopefully after this presentation, you can walk away knowing a little more of how to use the FP camera. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Aaron Norberg.
Thank you, Jorge. My name's Aaron. I'm a tech rep with Sigma. And thank you first so much for being here, for joining us on this day. We're super excited to have you all here to help celebrate these little cameras that we love. And if you're not familiar with the cameras already, this is kind of the premise of what I'm going to be talking about for the next couple of minutes. Just kind of a quick overview of where the cameras came from a design standpoint, where we think that they're a little bit unique in the industry, and hopefully that'll give you something to think about if it may be the right camera for you. So with that said, in the development stages of the FP series, our team set out to try to rephrase or reframe the relationship between the camera and the image maker. We started by just trying to distill it down to its essence. What is the genuine value of a digital camera today? And how can we as a company try to work to step away from some of the industry norms that we feel are counterproductive for that relationship? Camera-centric hierarchies and observed product categories that really force the users to conform to a camera model rather than what we feel should be the other way around. So we really wanted to shift the focus back to what we feel is the heart of that relationship, the content creator, the image maker, the user of the camera. So to answer this question, we set ourselves the task of developing a user-oriented digital camera that can better reflects the idea of what a camera can be today in a more flexible and a more true-to-life manner. And so from that thought process, the result was what we have, the FP series. And this camera launched 5 years ago, back in October 2019. So this camera was really, we felt, a new form of device that really invites creativity back into the process. We wanted to develop a system base that was compact, that was scalable, and seamless. And so what that means, we want a camera that's easy to take and use anywhere you need to go. A camera that can either be pared down for casual, everyday, light and fast use, or a camera that can be built up to the rigorous needs for a commercial production. And a camera that can effortlessly go back and forth between recording stills and video depending on what the user needs at the moment. So enter the Sigma FP. And this is, at the launch and still today, the world's smallest interchangeable full-frame mirrorless camera out there. Now we have two cameras at this point. When it launched, it was the FP. In 2021, we launched its companion product, the FPL. And these two cameras share the same external design. It's an aluminum body. It features 42 points of environmental sealing for a fully weather-resistant enclosure. And in keeping with the camera's kind of minimal aesthetic, the external control points were also considered and distilled as much as possible for a simple, clean, intuitive user interface. So you'll still find, like you'll find on any pro-level camera, dual command dials to quickly change your exposure settings. You've got a dedicated stop and start button for video recording. You've got exposure lock button, dedicated buttons for tone and color to quickly customize the look of the image that you're capturing. And then you've got the standard control points that every camera is going to have, the power, exposure mode, display options, playback, and then access to the full menu. Almost all of these buttons can also be customized, reprogrammed in the menu if you want to reference a different function. And then we have the rest of the menu is going to be accessed through the touchscreen. So to help speed up setting changes on the fly, we also have a dedicated quick set button that brings up a dedicated menu that gives you the option to keep all of your most used settings right there so you can get quick access without having to dig into the menu. The cameras also feature 3 1/4-20 mounting points, so you have one on either side and then the typical one on the base to make it easier for you to mount accessories wherever you need them. So the FP on the photo side features a 24 megapixel Bayer type sensor that utilizes backside illuminated technology and dual native ISOs for cleaner images and more dynamic range in really dim environments. The native range for this camera is 100 on the low end to 25,600 on the high end, and that can be expanded out to 6 on the low end and up to 102,400 on the high end. In still mode, the FP can record in either a RAW DNG format or it can record in a compressed JPEG format. With 6 optional aspect ratios beyond the sensor's native 3:2. So you have a lot of control in terms of your framing options. Autofocus on this camera is driven by a contrast-based detection system with 49 selectable points and face and eye detection and tracking. Both cameras utilize an electronic shutter for simple, quiet, and reliable operation. With shutter speed range options going from 30 seconds to 1/8,000th of a second, plus a bulb mode that can be programmed to up to 300 seconds. And then the drive mode options include single, continuous, self-timer, and a built-in interval timer. On the video side, in cine mode, the FP can output UHD or Full HD video in either RAW, Cinema DNG formats, or in a compressed MOV format. In the MOV, the compressed format, users can choose between 23.98 and 119.88 frames per second, whether they're recording internally or externally. In the Cinema DNG format, the RAW video format, users can go between 23.98 and 119.888 frames per second in Full HD. Or if you go up to UHD, that's going to shrink down to 23.98 to 29.97. So it's a little bit tighter as you get to higher and higher resolutions. Some of those UHD and Cinema DNG are going to require that you record to an external SSD, but you can see we've got a couple set up here that still allows for a very small, compact setup without having to get an external monitor that's going to add size and weight and another power consumption device. The FP can also output RAW video via the micro HDMI port and can support recording in either ProRes RAW with a compatible Atomos recorder or in BRAW with a compatible Blackmagic external recorder. So you have a ton of options in terms of resolution, frame rates, and what format you're recording into. Some of the other, beyond just the specifications, some of the features that the FPs incorporate that we feel make for kind of an innovative mix of options. We have a lot of tools that are designed for more intuitive filmmaking. And that's going to include a streamlined user interface. You can see on the camera itself, there's a switch for cine and still mode. When you're in either mode, it's going to exclude the options that don't pertain to that capture mode. So you don't have to dig through every menu item all the time. That's also going to open up some video-centric features like shutter angle control. Anger control is a whole other thing. Exposure preview tools that include zebra patterning and waveform monitoring, and false cover overlays, including the EL zone. We also have support for external timecode generators, quick and easy in-camera screenshots, and frame grabbing, and the ability to save and load setup and exposure settings from camera to camera via QR code. So it makes it really easy to match settings if you're using multiple cameras in the field. The FP series also feature a pretty unique option called the Director's Viewfinder mode. And this allows you to simulate the sensor readout of the most widely used cinema cameras in the industry. So you can more easily and accurately make decisions in terms of angle of view and composition before you get your A camera out there in the pre-production stage. So this allows you to actually see a sensor readout of what lens you're going to be using with the camera settings that you're going to be using before you ever get the film crew there. The FP series also support a camera to cloud workflow when they are paired with a compatible Atomos external monitor and the Atomos Connect module. So this allows seamless connectivity between the film crew out generating the content and the editing and producing teams back at the home office. The FP series also support integrated camera control when they're paired with compatible gimbals. So this compatibility combined with the incredibly compact form factor of the FP makes it super easy to get large format video in a number of situations without having to get into a bigger motion control lens. On the other side of that, the FP cameras are also USB video class or UVC compatible. So this allows the camera to function as a webcam simply by plugging it in via USB. Doesn't require any additional software or drivers. Couldn't be more simple. So the ability to change your lenses and to control your exposure settings makes production-grade video streaming more accessible than ever. Now the FPL features the same body and the same user interface as the FP, but features a 61 megapixel rather than the 24 megapixel sensor inside. Both are backside illuminated, both utilize dual native ISO for maximum detail and dynamic range, regardless of how bright or dim the situation is in front of you. Now, while the bulk of the settings and options available between the FP and FPL remain the same, the increase in native resolution with the FPL does allow for a unique feature over the FP called crop zoom. This allows you to use digital zoom up to 5 times and still maintain full HD resolution. The FPL also incorporates a hybrid on-sensor face detection system for autofocus. So it'll be smoother, quicker, just as accurate, but a little bit better for moving subjects than the contrast-based detection system in the FP. And then lastly, the FPL also supports USB charging during operation. So it makes it super simple to extend your runtime for as long as you need to, whether you're working as a tethered, like a webcam, or working a mobile device with USB power available. You don't have to get like DTAP connections. Just plug it in via USB and it will run as long as you've got enough power to support it. Sigma also produces a number of dedicated accessories to extend the potential uses of the FP series, including mount adapters, viewfinders, and grip accessories. We've also published the external dimensions of the camera so that other manufacturers can easily make dedicated accessories for them as well. And we've shared an SDK, or software development kit, to allow for remote control of the cameras for any specific use case that may come up. And so in closing, that's kind of where we feel this camera was positioned and has landed. It strikes kind of a unique balance between the combination of a small footprint, a modular design, powerful specifications on the hardware side, and thoughtful integration of meaningful features on the firmware side. To deliver a pair of cameras that are adaptable to the changing needs of today's image makers and a worthy companion for the journey. And that is it for the material. If anyone does have any questions, we can go over it now.
But are we able to take still grabs in director's viewfinder mode of custom aspect ratios like X-pan, for instance? Or if we have an anamorphic lens on there, can we then start taking stills of anamorphic photos in director's viewfinder mode?
In a way, yes. There are a couple limitations. So the director's viewfinder mode will allow you to, kind of like we touched on earlier, but you can really drill into what camera you're using, what your sensor readout options are. That will kind of tell you which portion of the sensor you'll be reading off of, because that will vary. From that point, then you can, with certain cameras the cameras that they're emulating that support open gate, we do allow that same support in director's viewfinder mode. So you can use anamorphic lenses and it will de-squeeze them in the director's viewfinder mode. And then you can also set, in addition to the many standard framing guides that are available, you can set a custom frame guide. So you can set whatever ratio you want and have it basically lay out exactly whatever aspect ratio you're looking for. In director's viewfinder mode, you can do either screen grabs, or you can record video and pull a frame out of that. But both the video and the photo output in director's viewfinder mode will be compressed. So you don't have the ability to get a DNG still file or a cinema DNG video file out of director's viewfinder, but you can get an MOV video file that you could grab a frame out of, or you can do an in-camera screen grab, which would be a JPEG. So kind of. It does potentially limit how far those files can go, because the design or the intent with that feature set is to allow the field team to communicate their notes back to post-production team, or to take notes while you're location scouting. So they're meant to be more memos than like final output files. That said, I mean, it's still, especially if you're working with the FPL, a compressed JPEG is still a pretty big file off a 61 megapixel sensor. So you've got a little bit of wiggle room, but you're not going to be able to get as much latitude as you would with like the DNG in still mode or Cinema DNG in the still mode. Does that answer that question? Good question. Yeah, go ahead.
How responsive is the camera if you add an adapter to it?
Like a mount converter. So it kind of depends on the mount that you're converting from. The mount converters will typically do two things. One, from the lens side, the optics in the lens have to be a set distance from the sensor for them to focus correctly. So the mount adapters will set that flange distance for what it needs to be. And then in the case of an autofocus lens on the front, they also then have to communicate or translate between the communication protocol in the lens, which is going to be native for whatever that mount of that lens is, and then the L-mount communication protocol, which the cameras use. So that usually ends up being, if there's a big variance there between the communication protocols in the body and the lens, that usually ends up being where we see the biggest impact in autofocus speed with adaptations. And that will definitely, anything, so with L-mount, we have the MC21, which will take Canon EF mount lenses to L-mount, and then we have the MC31, which will take the REP L-mount, which are not going to be autofocus, obviously. So with the MC21, if you're adapting Canon mount lenses, your autofocus tracking is definitely going to be slower. Acquisition is pretty close. It's not a huge gap between the two. But so E-mount, there isn't an adapter that it will take E-mount to L-mount that I'm aware of at this point. The difference in those flange distances is very thin. There's not a lot there. And I don't know if that's a conversion that's possible. All the lenses that we make, all the DGDN lenses for either platform, they're available in both systems. So that would be generally my first recommendation. If you're picking up a new lens, especially in the mirrorless realm at this point, because the difference between various mounts is relatively thin, it's very difficult to move from one mirrorless platform to another. Pick the camera that you're going to need to use that lens with the most. And that's one potential benefit of using like EF mount, for example, is very widely adaptable. You can put that on just about any mirrorless camera with the right adapter. So if you have multiple cameras and you want fewer dedicated lenses, that's potentially one way to go about it, but that will impact autofocus tracking. So yeah, I'd say it depends on your use case. I would say if you know that you're interacting with fast-moving subjects and you need the fastest possible tracking, figure out what lens you're going to need in that instance and get that pair to be native, because that's going to be the least amount of hurdles between your subject and what you're trying to capture. Any other questions? We'll be at the counter as well, so if anyone does have any other questions or any more involved questions, please feel free to see us over here. And then we have a couple of the FPs set up around the showroom. We invite you to come and take a look, get hands-on, and see what they can do. Thank you again for your attention, and thank you so much for joining us.
And I'm going to put my sales hat on. I forgot to mention this earlier. We do have special pricing on the Sigma FP that is going for, I think, about a week. Now, good for us. We've sold a fair amount of FPs, but there are still a few left. So if there is interest in purchasing an FP, we can help you place an order online and get it shipped to you. So just putting that out there. And then in addition to the FP, for all you Cine shooters, Sigma's first ever 20% discount on Cine lenses. Never been done before. It's going through the end of November, so keep that in mind. If you are in the market for Cine lenses, don't sleep on that. 20% off is a big deal. So that's going through the end of November. And those are the sales notes for today. But do check them out and get your hands on them and ask all the questions. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And the other notes are the tacos are ready. So get something to eat. The next presentation will start, I think, at 4:30. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Jeannie. At 4:30 with Kay Zalatraki, who's going to talk about some of the great work that he's done using the FP and how to achieve cinematic looks with the FP. So thank you. Woo. We are getting ready to start our next presentation. So how are we looking, Nicole? How many minutes? Are we getting ready to start? All right, so gather around, everyone, for the next presentation. It is my pleasure to introduce a visionary filmmaker whose background has shaped his distinctive approach to storytelling. So when I came over to Sigma, I'm fairly new here, and I started learning about the FP. I started looking at content that was being created with it, and one of the videos that I saw right off the bat was a video called Summoner for Snakes of Russia, and it was so beautifully done, very artistic. I was just blown away, like, who created this? I need to know who made this with this camera. And as I learned about who our presenters today would be, I was introduced to Kays Alatraki, who you'll meet here shortly. And I was so excited because it just, you know, when you see work like that, it's very inspiring, and you'll have questions. And I love what you're about to view. We're going to have it's going to be moderated. But a little bit about Kays. You know, he started a career as a music composer, so he's got a music background. And he transitioned over to cinematography. And through that, he's been able to create award-winning narrative films, music videos, and ad campaigns. You know, what we'll talk about today is Revenger. He'll talk about his gear, and you're all in for a treat because when I viewed this, it made me ask questions that I'll ask right now. So anyone that is getting into cinematography and wanting to accomplish a look, this is the presentation for you. So without further ado, please allow me to introduce Kays Alatraki. Kays. And here we go. This is your mic.
Great.
Let's make sure it's on. And I'm going to stand over here. And so we'll start with some questions, just to kind of get things going, and then we'll have you jump into. So I shared a little bit about you, but tell us about yourself as a filmmaker. How you transitioned from music into filmmaking. And I'm going to ask you the question that I asked you earlier because it really blew me away. So the question I asked, because the FP camera is a camera that, you know, some people know, some people don't. So I asked you, how did you discover the FP, and can you share how that came about and your impression with it? Why the FP?
Okay, why the FP? I mean, fundamentally, the answer to that is the image. The image that I got out of the FP is, in my opinion, unlike any other camera that's out there at the moment. Certainly, you know, is nowhere close to anything in its budget range, but even putting budget aside is what ultimately sold me on it. I was using another company's cameras, and I can't believe it's been already 5 years since the FP was introduced. Happy birthday, Sigma FP.
Happy birthday!
And you know, and shortly after Sigma introduced the camera, I came out here with a good friend of mine who's a cinematographer and a couple of actors, and I said, let's just kind of shoot with this camera. I was very skeptical, to be honest with you. I knew Sigma as a very well-respected lens company. I had heard about other companies getting into the camera side of the business, and you know, they were not as successful. I was like, okay, here's Sigma trying their hand. It's probably not going to be what I'm looking for. And I came out here. We shot, you know, literally like on this wonderful stage here, and you know, and all over the place, both interior and exterior. And then I took the footage back to my place, and I do a lot of color grading as well. So I have like a very, very good calibrated monitor that I can rely on seeing exactly what the image is going to show me. And when I looked at the footage, I was honestly, it's a bit of like a jaw dropping to the floor because I was not expecting to see an image that felt, and I hope you will forgive me for using a term that I think is far overused in the industry, which is cinematic and filmic. And what I saw just felt very cinematic and filmic. And because of that, I really took interest in the camera. And in short order, I managed to like sell the other cameras that I had and purchase the FP, and I said, this is the camera for me at this point. So hopefully that answers.
That does answer my question. Thank you for sharing that. And you're going to show some work that you've done with some recent work. I believe it's called Revenger.
That's the working title, right?
That's
now.
a working
Yes.
title. So it's a teaser.
Yes.
So I will turn it over to you.
Okay.
And share with them, and then we'll get into a Q&A for anyone that has questions about the work. So
Okay. I'm gonna show you a little bit of the footage. We just did a quick edit. This is not final color grade or anything like that, but it will give you an idea of the type of look and vibe that we've been able to accomplish with this exact rig right here. So,
and this is your rig right here. So we've got the FP with a vintage lens.
I will explain
Okay,
this weird
beautiful.
contraption.
Beautiful.
Let's see here. Do we have any sound?
And do we have the monitor on? Let's get this on.
There we go. Oh, the monitor's on?
Genie.
Always.
No,
No, I think we should be good.
how am I working this? Turn the monitor on. Oh, we got the remote control, everyone. Thank you, Aubrey. Woo!
Okay, so yeah. Boom. Let's wait for the menus to go away.
Yeah, let's that to go away.
Just hit it. There you go. Thank you.
Woo!
Thanks. So that gives you like a little bit of an idea of what the project entails. And one of our first considerations was that we were trying to capture a vintage feel of late 70s, early 80s Los Angeles crime movies. I kind of grew up on Michael Mann and movies like To Live and Die in LA. And if you've ever seen any of these films, they're just so wonderful, but there's also a very tactile kind of vibe and atmosphere to the footage. So the first consideration that we had is we know we want to shoot on some type of anamorphic lens. The second consideration is, as you saw, we shot all over the place, largely downtown Los Angeles, but also over at LAX. And so we needed something that was very portable, something that we could kind of move quickly and just kind of adjust on the fly and just kind of go, and literally just kind of block the scene, tell the actor, okay, this is what we're doing, and then just kind of roll cameras and go. And And last but not least, we were looking for something that was also fairly light because the wonderful cinematographer that shot this video, Zubi Muhammad, unfortunately couldn't be here today because I would have loved to have him talk a little bit more about like his methodology for using this particular rig. But you know, like, I mean, it's just like a single operator, and he, you know, so we're like sometimes like running with the camera, sometimes we're just walking really fast, following the actors around the different locations, and we needed something that was relatively light so that we could operate, move, and not have this, you know, literally like an aching shoulder or hands that start kind of shaking after a while. And we did a lot of research, mostly about like the lens combination. We first considered actually using cine anamorphic lenses to get us the look that we wanted. We did like tests with Laowa has like a set of nanomorphs, and Surui, I always mispronounce their name. They have like another wonderful set of anamorphic. I think like Blazar had just introduced their line, but it was not available yet to us. And but you know, we did like several visual tests where we went on location and we just shot, and we were looking, as I said, to capture like a bit of this kind of really vintage vibe with it. And ultimately we ended up on this really, really bizarre combination that is probably going to appear as blasphemy to a lot of cinematographers here. But to me as a filmmaker, what really matters is the final image. And so what we have here is it's a two lens setup. And the first lens is a vintage Canon FD from the 70s. And it's a photographic lens. And then the anamorphic component, which is which sits literally like on top of it, is like what is it, like the Sankor, and this is a projector anamorphic lens. This comes from Projector Cinemas, but if you put it in front of the lens, it will squeeze. Like the main purpose was literally like to de-squeeze, you know, anamorphic film, and you put it in front of the lens and you turn it around, and all of a sudden you're kind of squeezing the other way, and that's allowing you to capture like an anamorphic image. And it's not the most elegant setup, I will say this, but as I said, I mean, I'm just going based on the look, and this is the look that, in my opinion, kind of sort of captured what we were shooting for. If I was Quentin Tarantino, I could probably go to Panavision and ask for like you know, some very vintage lenses from the era, but that is not an option. So this is kind of what we ended up adopting. The rig itself is very, very light, and it's powered by a couple of batteries, and it's recording straight to like an SSD drive, so that I can literally shoot, take the drive to my laptop, review the footage, you know, bring everything into Resolve, and it just works. I mean, that's you know, that's fundamentally like what we're all trying to do. We're trying to make movies, and we just need to get a pipeline that works at the end of the day, and this definitely works for me. One of the things that I do appreciate also as a colorist coming from like the Sigma FP is that when I bring Cinema DNG inside Resolve, and I like to use the DaVinci Resolve color manage workflow, and I don't really have to do much to the image. I mean, what you're seeing over there, I mean, you know, like aside from like some contrast adjustment, it's basically what came out of the camera. And I just love the idea that I don't have to sit there and find the look. And this is one of the elements that I think is very reminiscent of working with a film camera, where you have, you know, different film stock that gives you a certain look. So like in the old days, you really didn't have that much post-processing power to change the image. And I kind of feel like the Sigma FP, at least to me, it feels like that type of device. You know, it's giving you a really great image right out of the box. And then when I bring it in, I'm just making like some small corrections, and then that's it. And I just love not to overthink. I really don't like when people are trying to reinvent the image in post. I like to respect the vision of the cinematographer, and a lot of times, even when people hire me to do color grade on somebody else's project, I've been in situations where people come to me and say, well, I don't really like what the cinematographer did. Can we completely change the image? And to me, that's kind of like the wrong approach. It's like, no. You want the image to be what you're looking for to begin with, so that when you're working in post and you're working at the color grade stage, you are just making some fine adjustments, but fundamentally, the camera gave you what you were looking for. So hopefully that, in a roundabout way, explains why I really enjoy using this camera. One of the things that I heard, and I'm probably going to misquote this musician, Robert Fripp, and he talks about that there are three elements of creating art. One is the head, one is the heart, and one is the hands. And when those three elements are aligned together is when magic happens. And when I look at the Sigma FP, I find a device that's very aligned with those three elements, right? Like the head, the camera is capable of recording RAW, which means that I'm getting the closest level of detail from what the sensor is grabbing all the way to the final post-production pipeline. The heart, to me, that's a very, very important, crucial element. Once again, what the image evokes. When I come back after we shot and I look at the images, does it give me this visceral sense of emotion? Because as a filmmaker, really, as filmmakers, we're all searching to convey emotion through the image. And the hands, it's light, it's fast. I mean, it's it's incredibly portable. It's like the menu system is not fighting me every step of the way. One of the things that I would mention also about the camera, as you saw, we shot a lot of nighttime scenes. And because it's a very, very small crew, very small production, we don't really have generators. We don't have the opportunity to work with a lot of lights. And shooting at night, we can't really use like reflective panels or anything like that to help. We just have like a couple of like very small battery-powered LEDs that were helping to kind of bump things here and there. But what was important is to use a camera that could deal very well with low light conditions. And the Sigma gave me that. We shot, I think like this, let me see here if I can kind of pull up the last image here. Yeah, this image right here, this was shot at 12,000 ISO. And I was really worried when I would get into post, is this going to be usable at all, or I'm just going to have to run some crazy amount of noise reduction just to get a viewable image? And I was like pretty blown away by the very little amount of noise that came out of the sensor at those ISO. Obviously, I'm not shooting at those crazy high ISOs all the time, but on this camera, I feel confident that I can kind of, push it to like 6400 ISO without any problems whatsoever, without having to deal with like a crazy amount of noise or loss of latitude in post. So yeah, I mean, I often refer to the Sigma FP as a best kept secret. I don't want it to be a secret. I want people to know that this is a really, really great contender of a camera that can go head to head with much, much more expensive cameras. And I guess that's why I'm here, to tell you all about it. If you guys are interested, I can play you a little bit of the music video. So last year we shot this music video for this Los Angeles-based electronic artist called Snakes of Russia. He's a wonderful guy, and we were approached to create a bit of like an otherworldly vibe. Like his music is very atmospheric, and one of the defining sort of aesthetics of Snakes of Russia is a lot of like black and white photography. So like the album covers are black and white, and some of the previous videos that have been shot are black and white. And once again, I wanted to embrace that, and I wanted to use the Sigma not with an anamorphic rig like this, but definitely with with the portability and a different set of lenses to be able to achieve once again this nostalgic type of vibe with the music video. So I'll show you just a little bit of it if you're interested. Here it goes.
Nice.
Thanks. So once again, a lot of different locations. We were shooting in the subway where you have like very, very limited light. We were shooting in the desert where you have too much light. And most importantly, we were just moving fast, really quick. So having like a small rig that is very capable is imperative for this type of shooting. What else can I say?
This was the video that I saw, and I was just so inspired by it. And so when I knew you were going to be here, I couldn't wait for the rest of our guests to see that. I'm sure I've talked to a few who may have questions about, how you've achieved that, or they have questions about, transitioning from one camera system to another, because everyone's got, there are different camera systems for different needs and different reasons, and you've chosen this one. You've created great work. I mentioned to you when I saw Revenger for the first time, it took me back. I'm born and raised in LA. I grew up here in the early 80s, and downtown LA had this feel to it. It had this look to it that when I saw your video, not knowing that that's what you were trying to accomplish with it, it kind of took me back to the downtown LA that I remembered in that era, where there was this glow from the movie theaters, the guys that came up to you selling you gold chains and necklaces, and just had this eerie vibe to it.
Sure.
And so when I saw that, you were able to create that, and you captured it with this and using this impressive rig. So we'll open it up to questions, because I hope if you have any questions about what Kays has done, or you want to learn more about your journey, this is an opportunity to ask. So we'll open it up to some Q&A. Thank you, Kays.
All right, first question right here.
In post, or
Those were done in post, yes.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice.
Thanks. Yeah, well, so were the jellyfish, by the way.
Yeah. Got that. Nice. Very nice.
Any other questions for Kays? Yep.
This is like a 50 millimeter Canon FD. It goes down to 1.4. Yeah, it's a great little lens. I mean, I love it, and I love once again, it's a combination of elements, right? Like you're looking at a sensor that has a great color science to begin with, and then you're pairing it with this lens that has a lot of character. So to me, it's kind of like a bit of a magical combination. I know everybody has like a little bit like their favorite lenses, and just to be clear, I also shoot with Sigma lenses as well. And Sigma lenses are wonderful for what I would consider like precision. So when you're looking for like a really tack sharp sort of image, when you're looking for something that is going to be relatively neutral as far as like what colors, what quality of light is hitting the sensor. But I just love using like those old vintage lenses as well.
So we have a question here. Thank you. We have a question from Instagram. So the question is, are you okay with the lack of IBIS in your work?
I am. I personally am of the opinion that like they didn't have like IBIS. For those that are not familiar, is optical image stabilization, like built-in stabilization within the camera, where like the sensor is constantly adjusting to try to kind of make up for some of the handheld movement. And to me, that's coming from a music background, if you'll allow me this. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with auto-tune.
Oh yeah.
So it kind of feels a little bit like a cheat. It's like, no. Let's get it right the first time. Let's have a good operator that has a good hand, and also let's embrace some of the imperfection. Like I don't need something that's like perfectly still. I mean, if I want that, I'll just use a tripod. So I'm not bothered by that. I think we had a question over there. Sure.
I in the first video, there's a lot of shots that were also static, but there was one shot in particular that felt like it was very handheld. Was that also on the shoulder rig, or how did you achieve that look?
No, like we did not use. I mean, it would be very difficult to kind of mount this on say like a Ronin stabilizer or some other type of stabilization rig. So we shot everything handheld. And when when the actors are moving and they're moving at a pretty good pace, like once again, I'm trusting Zuby to kind of keep it as steady as possible, while at the same time embracing the fact that it's okay. Like like they're walking, and I think like that the image movement is kind of helping to kind of build that sense of dynamic to the shot. So I'm not looking for like a steady cam sort of vibe.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, wait.
What? There's more. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a bit of a nightmare to shoot, but but hopefully worth it. No, that was like two different escalators. Yes. Most of it is in camera. As I said, like the color grade right now is just kind of like slapped a really quick contrast brightness sort of grade on it. But most of it was in camera, which is what I like about this specific lens combination. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend using this lens combination to all productions because it has its quirks and it's not the most practical thing. But what I did love about it, and what the cinematographer loved about it, was the fact that we didn't have much to do to the image after it came out of the camera. I can't remember. We were all over the place, but we were mostly shooting relatively wide open. I would say probably like around like 2.4 on this lens. And, and like keep in mind that we're not going for like that ultra shallow depth of field, because the anamorphic add-on is really widening the field anyway. So we're not going for like that micro sort of focus like Heather was talking about earlier with the macro photography. And but still shooting wide open still allowed us to get relatively in the ballpark.
All right, we have time for one more question, and then after this, you're welcome to ask Gaze all the questions you like. So start.
Oh, we got two more.
Two more.
Three more.
All right.
Really quick, off topic. How much were your film permits Do you shoot on a Sunday or any day? Because it was like you're sorry,
Do I have to answer that?
no.
We were very run and gun, which is the other thing that I specifically love about the Sigma is that it's a fairly unassuming profile. You know, we're not going there with like a big, massive rig that attracts attention. We're going there with something that, for all intents and purposes, looks, you know, very much like a point and shoot type of camera.
Did you remove people from the scenes?
I'm sorry?
Did you remove people from the scenes?
Yeah, like, I mean, like in most cases, we are, you know, we're not shooting anybody that's not an actor unless we're kind of like grabbing on a couple of shots that might be like a passerby. But, you know, if you're not seeing like their face, if you can't identify who they are.
It looked very dystopian, so I like
It is a little dystopian, yes, thank you.
All right. So should we do have one more question or let's take this question.
Good question. So the form factor is obviously very small. Have you
Yes.
tried running it remote on either a drone or a crane? I know you had a drone shot, but
Yes.
I'm not gonna.
I haven't tried personally running the FP on a drone. I know that it's pretty straightforward to like put a camera like this on a drone. I mean, obviously, like on a decent drone, like with the type of size that can handle. I forget what the weight is, but you're basically looking at a very light camera paired with however big the lens is. So if you're using like a larger cinema lens, you're probably looking, I don't know, would guess about like 4 pounds, something like that, 5 pounds maybe. I know that the Ronin stabilizer, which I have, has no problem with the camera and the lens. I'm assuming that a drone that can kind of handle that kind of payloads would be able to handle this quite nicely.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kays. Round of applause.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
All right, now we'll take a brief break in the next presentation. The next one is at 5:15. We'll have Sebastian Oropeza at 5:15. So can't wait for that. So see you in less than 15 minutes, or hang out, rest your feet. I don't know if it's still hot out there, but yeah, it's still hot out there. So you're in a good spot here. Thank you. Seats, come on in. It is my pleasure to introduce a great friend of mine, someone who I am personally inspired by on my own content creation journey. Sebastian is a creative force behind the camera, someone whose work seamlessly blends artistry, storytelling, and marketing expertise. He started his journey in a university photo lab, working with one of the brightest minds in marketing. If for those of you que hablan español and you know that, Gansito, recuérdame, he worked with that mastermind. And so Sebastian uses a lot of that to create content for top-tier brands like Paul Mitchell, Allure, celebrity hairstylist the Paula Peralta, who's here with us today, supermodel Juana Chasing Horse, whose portrait we have up in our gallery that Sebastian was entrusted to take at the Met Gala, and Snoop Dogg's Gin and Juice beverage company. So he's working with a lot of top brands, a lot of content creation on the social media side that is elevating to podcasts and other work. So it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce to you a good friend, the talented cinematographer, photographer, and storyteller, Sebastián Oropeza. Give it up for Sebastián.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, take it away.
Whew. Okay, like Jorge already did my introduction, so I will show you a little, I have it here, a little demo reel. So that's part of the work I do. But for this part, I want to talk about, I do more social media. So nowadays, we used to use quality versus quantity. But now for the companies, they need quality and quantity. So sometimes we do one shoot and we can divide like 15 seconds reel, 50 or 6 minutes YouTube video. So for me, and also FP is helping me so much to my workflow because sometimes I don't have the time to color grade it that we're gonna use. We're gonna see more like in advance. And these videos I have to tune around less than 24 hours sometimes. So the speed that camera helped me because I was shooting with Blackmagic, so I was wasting time on color grading. But when I find out FP, because I start shooting all my life with Sigma lenses, so when I found the FP, for me helping shoot it in no RAW in this case, because I have to tune around and connect it to my phone, don't allow the video, and sometimes I did it on the phone. So that helped me. And in this campaign, for example, Paul Mitchell called me one night before that they need a campaign to run next day, and they don't have it. So we rented an Airbnb, like with a pool, to 3 models, but they just did it one video. So at the end, I quote for one video, but at the end, I know I can make it more videos. So the revenue at the end was double because I told, hey guys, we have this video, but I get other 5 more. So for them, they can extend the campaign, they can push more hard the products. And so that's how I start getting hooked up with more companies when I deliver it a little bit more at the beginning, and then they find out they can get more, so I can be with them. So I will show you this video. So most of the things, they were like one video with 3 models. So then we divide one video for each model, so they can, each model has different products, and they do it. So that's part, like also when I work with the team of them, they say, what is the storytelling? And sometimes they don't have storytelling, and it's where we come out as a cinematographer to build the storytelling that they are looking. How I started this is during the pandemic. I was in Mexico, the cinematography shut down. So I was like, what am I gonna do to pay the bills? So I found out that people was looking first for editions online, turning fast. So I jump in there, I hook up with the companies, and the companies start like, hey, can you come to shoot? So I start flying home to here to LA to start shooting and turning back all the material. So I find out, okay, this is the niche that I wanna reject, is social media, because I can help the brands start building out, because in this moment, everything was online. So that's why like the campaigns came out. Also for this one, I came here to shoot for Barber Maverick, who's part of Paul Mitchell. This one, they have 3 videos. We do these 3 videos with 3 different models. But at the end, again, the same history. The barbers was like doing his hair each other, but they were talking about how the industry was. So I mic'd them, I put the camera, and then we got this video. This video was not planned for the shoot, so was more like natural storytelling. So they, at the end, again, I doubled the revenue because they were looking for this kind of content that looks natural for the engagement with the client.
And being able to build relationships and being accountable. So once I got that transition, it just became better after that, because I got my own isolated. I can run it how I want to run it, and actually, cause some shops, they don't have wash houses in there where you go wash your hair. And so I got that all in one in my suite. You want to wash your hair, cut on music, put on sports. I don't have to worry about too much of the loud camaraderie, and it's more like a personal relationship. And I feel like I build a better relationship when I have isolation that way.
So most of the videos was this one, and this one also end with the barber of Snoop Dogg. Is how I get working with them for his gin and juice. He was looking to storytelling to say where he is coming from. So I did this story.
Doesn't matter what you're going through or what you're going through. You always change your own narrative. But as you grow, remember to give back. I'm in the Donald County, called DC of the county.
So for this one, I use the FP with the Cinema, I think it's the 5100. So I use that one because I need to get like really crispy details for him when he is barbering. And also this one helped me to sell to other brand called Andy's. So I get 2 brands in one video when they show the video. So that's why it's quality and quantity, because you have to have different sources to sell to other companies in this moment. Yeah, the ability to turn it around, and I don't have to, in this part like color science, that I don't have to wait time color grading is helping me so much, because this one I shoot for Paula, she has to turn it around. Why? Because the hype that is in the event and how everybody has now a phone just showing what is going on. So sometimes the brand lose the content. So that's how you have to turn it around really fast to don't lose the hype that the moment is engaging. So if you turn around that content, company is gonna call you every time, because they know, okay, at least at night I have the video to post it tomorrow morning, and they can be a BTS, a recap, or wherever they need it in this moment. More for social media, because yeah. Yes, one video cut it in 3, 4 videos. Yes. Yeah, because you can build a story. You can build the story long, and so you shop at the part. You decide it, and that they don't know. And also, we have to know when you did it, you know how to manipulate the videos to get a story, right? So it's an advantage we have in the social media industry that we don't want to see it on cinema. Yes, already on my brain, I like at least 5 videos I have to take from this one. If no. I sometimes when I travel, I was traveling with the barber from Kendrick Lamar. So he do education. So for 1 hour, I get 30 videos of him. So was a lot of content that he could like manipulate it, and they're like, okay, tell me how I do it. So I start showing, post this one this day, and this one change it, give it a strategy. So he start booking more clients. And then most of the time when I'm editing, I'm like already pay attention when I'm filming, what is the parts that I'm gonna cut. So when I see that, I try to work fast. So I cut this one is the one is, and then send it. And then I go back when I have more free time and say, oh, I find other two. So hey, I have 2 more videos. You want it? That's how I build it. The color science, so for me, it's amazing because sometimes I have to shoot outside. But to be fair, I don't carry a big shotgun camera. I don't want to put sometimes the matte box. I don't have to wear the filter. And the thing with the color of the FP helped me because it looked like I shoot with the iPhone. Because everybody see like now it's like iPhone Cinema or like this one. It's good, but at least it's a digital lens. It's not like have different steps of the lenses that you needed to have. So, but the color of the FP helped me to look like iPhone, but the next level. That's why I choose. This video doesn't have music, but you can see this one I was trying the handle without gimbal, so the stabilization is really good. But I shoot in auto this one because I want to try how look the auto. Because sometimes in some cameras it's so flat, doesn't have this 3D difference, and this one has it. So for me, it was so good. This video, I have to turn it around in 1 hour. In 1 hour. So I don't wait all the time shooting. Just I go straight for the shoot. I talk to Paula, okay, we need to do this, directing, and then, okay, go hang up, and then I started it in the corner of the video. If I bring laptop, I do it in the laptop. If not, I do it in the iPhone. Go ahead. Yeah. Yes, because one thing that I discovered when I shoot horizontal, when you cropping, change so much the image. So if you shoot vertical, you can have the space that you needed. You will know, like, for example, this one I shoot with the 28-45. So I was like, okay, I can go like 28 or 35, and then I go for a little more close up with the 45. So I already have the range, and I don't have to be worried in the cropping part. FPL. Yeah. Vertical, yeah. Even though, like, when I was shooting with Blackmagic, I tuned the vertical, and then they do this update, I think so. But to be fair, I changed for FPL because I don't have to start waiting on the color rating. And also, one thing is the space. I shoot with this SD card in phone mode, so I don't have to start carrying so many hard drivers. Because traveling, overweight is paying more stuff. So that's a part of the color science that I like it. In this video, one thing that I love is like sometimes I'm not allowed to bring lighting. So that's the FP and the cinema lenses help me to trust them because the way that get the light inside is perfect and look like you're shooting with lighting, I will say. So for this one, Paul Mitchell collab with the Barbie movie. So they give me 2 hours to shoot without people on the Barbie house in Santa Monica. And the art director, Paulo Peralta, was in charge to be the Barbie. So we run around, and the amazing thing to run around is like I didn't use any light, just the lens. And this one I shoot with a 35, the Sigma 35 1.2, I think so is that one, or 0.4? The art ones. 1.4. So I shoot with the 35, that one, and with the running. So and this part was so dark and helped me to do like a little better. Sorry? Yeah. Yes. That helps. Yeah, most of the thing I do by myself, or like I hire a team when the budget, I can fit a team. But sometimes right now the budgets and companies are like, short. So like you have to be one show man to do all the things. And it's how you can fit in any budget at this moment. This one also, I use the 35 art for shoot Juana for his event, not Tiro. That event is like, I couldn't bring light because the atmosphere has to be like kind of low vibe and all these things. So you can see the color turn perfect using the light of the makeup artist and kind of like the lighting around. The autofocus is so perfect. It's fast, and I love it on that thing. And then we moved to outside because I do a photo shoot for her. That one was featured with In Style Germany. So that's how we do that. And was just a recap video that they needed. And this one was more crazy because they needed in an hour. Yeah, but the thing is, like, you have to see, like, if they ask you for an hour, they're gonna pay what they needed. So that's how, like, the deal is. Like, if you are really to put yourself like, okay, I'm gonna do it in an hour, and don't get in that part like boho artists that I call, you can make it like money all the time. That one, sometimes I bring more my laptop because I have to be more easy. Lately, I'm editing on the phone. Yeah. Yeah, right too. I just plug it, I give Jorge a connector that you plug in and go straight and just put it on CapCut or wherever you want to shoot it, and then change your life. Yeah, we were like in a camp last week on Palm Springs, and I have to shoot one video every day and turn it around. So I shoot and I connected with my phone where everybody was talking, I was editing, I just send it, and everybody has to see some video at the moment. That's a helping thing. This one I work with Ashton Michael, who is a designer. Also, this was for the Fashion Week LA. This is a little more rock star. We start in the morning, and the lighting is perfect. I use all the light that they have it. I couldn't bring lights. But that's the thing that I trust the Sigma XPL and my lenses. Like, and this one is my 35 because at that time doesn't come out the 28-45. But now my son Trinity is gonna be the 28-45 to go everywhere. And the one thing that I love is like on the tone of the skin when you shoot like dark skins, they need to be smooth. So sometimes the lighting is a little bad. So that's why this color grading is helping me so good, like to smooth the skins. And for me, shooting in every environment, in this video, I shoot in a nightclub for the show, Paula Prada show. And I don't get any flicker there, any reaction, was so fast, was so perfect. Then this video was for the Met Gala with Allure. And this one I do twice the revenue because Paul Mitchell also sponsored too. So they knew it, I was there. So they told me, can you turn one video for me and one video for Allure? So in this moment, if you see, it's 2 paychecks, right? So using what they needed and telling, okay, you need the story of Paul Mitchell is like most of the products, how she's getting ready. And Allure was more like which products wanna use for doing the get ready to the Met Gala. And this one was a little more challenging because I have to do photo at the same time. So having an FFP is just changing, taking the picture, and let's go. Instead to carry one camera for video and one camera for shoot. So that's helped me, and that's the photo that I shoot for the Met Gala is over there. And that helped me, but the turnaround for this one is almost 30 minutes videos around because the video has to be up before she gets on the carpet. So you don't have like time. So I was shooting, editing, and sending. And even though you do that, for the Met Gala, you finish at 1 a.m. because they tell you, stay there because we need something extra. But that's how they turn around. But it's like, I get sometimes talks about like, why you do that? Like, people say like, you are not helping to the industry because you turn around the videos. But internet is coming for us. My internet is running fast. Like, how many uploads is a day when you get lost your video? So that's why, like, now it's quantity, quality, and fast. Thank you. Yeah, it's my style because they look also for the one part of the marketing that we have to be aware is like my mentor always told me, when you're gonna shoot, when you're gonna do something as marketing, take off your shoes and put on the shoes of the people who are gonna consume. So most of the time when they told me, hey, we're gonna do barbers love the hype. So it's like, okay, let's do it more emotional, more hype, more rock star. Paul Mitchell is more glam, but also want to connect with the people. So let's do it like people who can see it. Oh, I want to use the product, right? So that's how you have to think. Yeah. Yes. The food. Yeah, you have to mix where they need it in that moment. Yes. Mm-hmm. Because the guy like so glamour, you know, like all, and this one is like different vibe. So let me show you the Met Gala one. So this one they asked me without music because they have his own trademark music. So yeah, that's they want it. So that's the part like you need to do it. In this one, they were introducing a new tool, so they have to show that new tool. Yeah, it's experience. Yeah. So then, this one is the Met Gala that I sent for Paul Mitchell. And after that, we go down to a part like everybody take the photo is what that photo was taken. So it's like you can go by the elevator, so you have to go down 20 floors with gear. So I was seeing all the friends having a struggle with the runnings, with everything, and maybe just with the handle goes down really fast and take the photo. And it was a game change. And this one is with the Kendrick Lamar barber. It is different environments, how the light helped me like change the mood, more like urban style. I do also the design for him, so come out. It's how like the vibe. And this is the podcast that we do every month, 12 episodes. And we do this commercial for Crocs to get this. We are sponsored by Crocs.
their money crocs forever because of you. And they're stuck with shit on the side. Like, so am I. Oh my god. And this one we lighted everything with NAND lights too. I know it's here. We use NAND light for all that one because it's more a controlled environment, and the vibe has to be like everybody when they see the podcast is like sitting on the living room with Paula and with the guests, so they can have it. Was other good. And this video I made with the idea with my friend Nugi to Emmy Awards, who is at the back. We win last year the best video of her. We use in this one just the FP, the camera, the 34 millimeters, and 2 Forza 69 lights. And this is how it ends. And one other important thing for this one, or for this camera that helped me, is with the color of the hair. For hairdressers and for companies that beauty, they need to see like the one you have it is the same that people gonna buy it. So that's how part sometimes the color grading is difficult in this one. So for me, the FPL helped me a lot on that part. So I know we have 3 minutes. So one thing I'm gonna advise you guys is if you can get your camera and start building your own gear, you're gonna fit in any budget for any company because you're not gonna be worried about renting. Sometimes the budgets or sometimes the jobs falls down is because you don't fit that budget that the company has. Even though if you think, oh, the company has so much money, thinking this, you wanna have just one fish to eat whole year, or you wanna have 1,000 of fish and eat every year. It's like one thing I will tell you. And now, if you have any questions? Before I used to bring 24, 14, and 35. That's what my go-to with the FPL, the primes, because I used to use the primes. When I tried the zoom lenses of Sigma, I forget the primes. And now, like I travel with the 28, 45 if I don't gonna do any macro or like any details. But if I'm gonna do that, I go 28, 105. So it's less weight for me, and everything is one Pelican case, batteries, and memory cards. That's all. I'm a laptop. Yeah. 85, sometimes I use it, but it's more for portraits. But sometimes because it's not just portrait, so I need to have like a little difference there to use. That, like, to be honest, for me, for Met Gala, if the 2845 was already on the market, will be my go-to, and I don't have any problem. But the thing that I use on these cases was the 35, because I was shooting vertical, so I can do a little already cropping what I wanted. So I was just aware of that when I was editing.
Great, microphone. When you're shooting all these other things, do you have a rig that you're using, or is it just the camera in your hands?
I use the camera. I put 2 small ring handles,
okay,
and the one on the top. Sometimes, since I want to go a little more fancy, I put an extra monitor. I use the Atom of 5. But if no, it's like that and a battery and a lens. I try to be less heavy and to move fast.
Right. And then also while you're doing all this running gun stuff, you're saying these quick turnaround stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a trade secret, but how are you dealing with your music rights and stuff? Because you mentioned the one.
I already signed up with, I don't know, I think it's Evanto. It's a company that have music rights for that.
You can just grab it.
And I grab it. Like I told, like, what is the band that you wanted? So I started looking music before, because also I step ahead, like maybe the internet is not working on that place. So I have to have like maybe 5 choose songs and start like building what I'm editing. Oh, this one is a match. Okay, perfect. Let's go.
So the music's almost setting your
video setting
vibes.
My video. I try to do it ahead of that.
Amazing.
Yeah, over there.
Hola, muchas gracias.
Ahora, no a ti.
Felicidades, muy buen
Gracias,
trabajo.
gracias.
En base a tu experiencia, ¿hay una cámara que sea para video y para fotografía la ideal? Porque soy papá de alguien que está
¿Qué está en
empezando
eso?
y me trauma de que dice, esa es para foto, esa es para video, entonces, ¿no hay algo que digas tú, esta es la ideal?
En mi experiencia usé Canon, Blackmagic, Nikon. Todos ellos empezaron con foto y después me cambié a Blackmagic porque era para video y tenía que usar otra. Pero cuando encontré la FPL de Sigma, was the one fit perfectly for me, perdón, del Spanglish, fue la que para mí quedó perfecto porque yo con un botón puedo cambiarlo y quedó. Y si vas a usar flash, solo necesitas el adaptador para los flashes, ahí es todo. Pero otra es, tienes que entrenar tus ojos para ver qué es lo que quieres. Podrás tener la cámara de la Arri si quieres o la cámara de $200,000, pero si tú no estás entrenando tus ojos constantemente y practicando, no va a ser ninguna la cámara que te quede. I went to like, he asked which one is the best camera for photo and video, and I told him about like, I start with Canon and Canon, you know, recording log or RAW for photo. But for me, it's like I was having two cameras, and then I changed for Blackmagic. I have Canon, but then I can carry two. So when I found out the FPL was the perfect fit for me because I can just with one button change to photo and start shooting. And also, I'm trusting the lenses. The lenses is also one most important thing that you needed. So for me, a FPL camera right now is my go-to everywhere. So, no, gracias a ustedes. If you want to connect with me, you can scan the code, or I'm going to be around.
Oh, Sebastian.
Thank you.